evening. We are on the Boost Hockey YouTube channel. Today we finally managed to organize a stream, although it took a lot of effort and we faced many difficulties. That's why we're all smiling and laughing, because honestly, if this had been live, the viewers probably would have laughed themselves silly. We tried to connect from different sources, but we set a goal to make sure everyone could see each other. So today we're finally online together. My name is Alexander Aksanov and I am the technical administrator of Boost Hockey. From left to right, we have Alexander Samatov, who is an accredited agent and one of the organizers of the Europe Stars Academy, as well as Boost Hockey, and an accredited agent in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, a hockey agent. Next, we have one of the Boost Hockey coaches, Vladimir Volkov, then Anton Piskarev, and then myself again. Hello again, everyone.
Hello. Good evening.
Well, today I truly hope that we absolutely won't encounter any more unexpected issues with last names, and we have all gathered here specifically for this important occasion to truly endeavor to explain a bit more comprehensively to all of our valued viewers, more precisely to those dedicated individuals who are diligently watching on our official YouTube channel, and of course to our loyal and cherished subscribers, exactly what Boost Hockey fundamentally is, precisely how the entire comprehensive training process meticulously works, and so forth. I'll be asking questions today, and the guys can answer. If there are hockey training related questions, they can respond either together or each can answer individually. You don't have to answer every question because I won't be addressing anyone specifically, like saying, Anton Crater, please answer, or Vladimir Cookie, please answer. So basically, you can answer, or both of you can answer, and of course, Alexander can also join in if it's within his area of expertise. Alexander will also have his own set of questions, and I'll be asking those as well. Now, the first question I'd like to ask is, when you guys were still learning hockey, did you ever try to train at home, like what is suggested on bush hockey? Maybe not exactly at home, but at least not during team practice. Were there such moments? Whoever wants to answer, feel free to try.
Yes, guys, first of all, we're still learning to this day. Secondly, during the COVID times, we had a huge amount of experience with this because we always had to come up with something using whatever we had at hand. In general, I think we managed it all quite successfully. It's great that now we can take that experience and apply it to this project. All the workouts we are showing don't require much space and need a minimum of equipment. So the experience during COVID was invaluable. Of course, even before COVID, there were different situations when we had a lot of free time at home, for example, in the summer, or if you were sick. And so the training took place at home. So yes, we definitely encountered this. And I believe my colleague did too. So we have plenty of experience, and I think that's a very important detail in some way.
Self-development.
Self-development, yes, we've definitely encountered this.
For sure, we've all dealt with this already.
Yes, absolutely. I can confirm that this is indeed the case.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Anton here. The greatest progress has happened specifically in the area of online training, I think, and in online learning and online training overall, especially during COVID, when we had to be creative and come up with ways to organize training using whatever was at hand, either for ourselves or for someone else. Still, I think these are just as much real training sessions, and we should treat them as a separate type, specifically as individual training and individual preparation. Because in modern hockey, and I think in every sport, it's not enough. Even when we were kids, we were always told that it's not enough to just train with the team and do only what everyone else is doing, because in that case, there's a high chance you'll only be as good as everyone else on the ice. It's individual training, individual preparation, and working on your own possible weaknesses that will allow you to stand out on the ice, become better, and make progress.
Oh, no, certainly not me, I assure you. I am completely uninvolved in this matter.
I can also add,
because
this process is actually endless. He said from the very beginning that self-development always remains self-development. You have to work on it constantly. The fact that the guys are playing in professional leagues at the moment doesn't mean they've stopped training. I think they train even more. At least I can say for sure about Anton, Visa, and Vladimir, because all the free time they have, which is very hard to find given how busy they are, they still use it. The same shooting technique, the same dribbling technique, the same cardio and physical training. They keep working on all of that. Of course, not at home anymore, but at least they go to some gyms and keep practicing. The conditions during COVID gave a huge boost to their development. Yes, it really did. I remember when Volodya was studying at the academy. Volodya, you remember how we used to go to the basement to work out? And we even practiced on the balcony where we had a shooting area, and we came up with all sorts of things. So this process kept developing, and it still does. And it gives the guys a chance to work on their mistakes, because during regular training, you definitely can't do everything, since the coach has a completely separate training process. And there are always some things that are left out, and you can only work on those things by yourself independently. Literally, you just need 1 meter by 2 meters at home, a piece of linoleum or carpet or whatever, and you can work on all those things. So yes, you need to do this constantly for your own self-development.
So I have a follow-up question. How many of these kinds of training sessions can you actually do? Because kids are busy too. What do you think about that? Let's discuss.
I'll answer that question quickly.
Yes, indeed, that's absolutely right.
You know, every single child is truly different, depending entirely on their specific age. Children, in general, tend to recover very, very quickly. As one of my dearest friends used to wisely say, if you don't overdo it, you certainly won't get lazy. And if you genuinely work, you absolutely won't overwork. So you should really work as much as you genuinely want to. If a child truly wants to work on something, why on earth would you stop them? But if they genuinely don't want to, you absolutely shouldn't ever force them to do it, because that simply won't help at all. It will only do significant harm. You clearly see? That's precisely how it truly works.
There's really nothing more to add here. Absolutely nothing further that I can contribute to this discussion or situation. And the guys, specifically the team members or colleagues involved, want me to... I just don't want to say anything to anyone at all, not a single word to a single soul, especially considering the sensitive nature of the circumstances. Well,
Anton, since you have a young protege now, tell us, how is it for you?
I'll say this. Today we had a tournament where the kids played 3 games, and during the breaks they played different games for fun. So I
think that is a very good idea indeed.
That all these questions, if we're talking about this being the first project for really young kids up to about 5th grade, then first of all, if you build, let's say, a circle and divide it up, you need to decide what percentage should be dedicated to targeted specific work and where the work should be hidden within games. So in fact, they're playing, but at the same time, they're doing certain exercises without even realizing it. For example, there might be some competitions or contests, but at the same time, they're also working on some skills. This could be on the ground with throws or anywhere, really. The key is that it should be hidden in such a way that the child stays interested, because maybe they can't last more than 30 minutes before they lose interest and stop engaging. That's why I say when it comes to older kids, they already understand what they're doing and why, and they should more or less be able to sense for themselves. If you're tired, you need to rest properly. If you feel like you can go and practice your shots, then you should go do that. But that's something older kids should learn to feel for themselves. By the way, this is a huge problem because a lot of kids really do overtrain. And on the other hand, a lot of kids think they're overtraining and end up resting too much. So there's a very fine line here. You shouldn't just focus on the sheer number of practices or on working with a physical training coach or with an on-ice coach or a second on-ice coach. It's important to talk things over with the experts, because at 15 you might not fully understand your own body yet. And the main thing is to listen to the opinions of professionals and start learning to understand your own body. What about the older age groups?
All right, thank you. That was quite a comprehensive answer as well. Now, regarding overload or not being overloaded, surely there are kids who, at least from the parents' perspective, and that's the case with us, for example, just aren't really making much progress. So for parents, how can they tell if their child is actually progressing? Do you as coaches have any criteria for this?
Let me start answering this question. It's actually a very interesting question, but I think the first and most important thing to understand is that this process takes a certain amount of time. As Anton already mentioned earlier, and as Alexander said, well, I don't know any hockey player. I think hockey players who play at the highest level never stop training. Many elements are performed for years and they are exactly the same, yes, and then some new ones appear. Many of the elements we do are meant for the child to feel confident in themselves. For example, if you're working on stick handling, on hand skills, even when I go to work on this, you might not see the result immediately. Right in the game, you work on some element, and then you go out in a game and you'll score a goal with a toe drag. Yes, meaning you'll pull the puck under yourself and score. No, it doesn't always work that way, but maybe through these very trainings, through constant repetition and practicing technique, you'll start to feel more comfortable, more confident with the puck. So I think parents shouldn't focus only on whether they see or don't see some crazy progress or statistics in just 1 or 2 days or a week. Progress may depend on the child's age, or maybe you're hoping he'll suddenly start outplaying everyone and scoring goals. Maybe you need to talk with the child, help them, or not help, change something, add something. But again, this should be done after some time has passed. So there's actually time to develop certain elements, certain skills. Skills are developed only over time and with lots of repetition. I think that's what's really important.
Well, I'd probably put it this way. There's a well-known saying, hard work beats everything. In my opinion, that's exactly how it is. There are people who are naturally talented. I've seen this in many different areas in life, but then at some point that talent hits a ceiling and stops growing. And then there are people who maybe didn't stand out much at first, let's say, but because they were persistent and very determined, always pushing and pushing, suddenly they surpassed that talent and moved ahead. So in this case, I think Vladimir was absolutely right when he said you just have to keep working and working and work some more. But
Well, if I may, I'd like to add something too. Vovka knows my favorite sayings. Anton, I'm not sure if you've heard them or not. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's why in this marathon, it's important to just be patient and wait for the moment when a child might suddenly shine, even if they didn't stand out in their childhood or youth. Or maybe they won't show anything in childhood, but will shine in their youth. Or maybe they won't show anything in either childhood or youth, but will break through in the senior team. There's another story when a child didn't show anything at all, just warmed the bench, but as an adult, they start showing incredible things. And I know stories like that. So listen, here everything depends on the patience of the parents, on the patience and diligence of the child. So everything just needs to come together.
well,
Parents just shouldn't expect quick results. I'll say it again. Take these boys, for example, the ones who are now coaches. Some started at age 3, maybe Vova started at 3. I can also mention another coach, Samat Yarotlak, who started at 3 years old. Actually, he was 2 years and 7 months when he first put on skates at Atlant. And now he's 23 years old, so just do the math. He's been doing hockey for 20 years. Yes, there were times he quit hockey, took a break for a year and a half. Twice he even wanted to hang up his skates for good, but it didn't work out. He stayed. And if this deep love is instilled in a child from birth, it will follow them for the rest of their life. They'll never...
Alexander just now unintentionally touched on a very important topic that I had actually wanted to ask about a little bit later in our conversation, but since the discussion has naturally come around to it, specifically about someone wanting to quit playing hockey and then perhaps surprisingly coming back to the sport, I wanted to delve into a bit of a psychological question. It happens quite often, as you have mentioned, with many young guys. Maybe there's a significant injury, a prolonged slump in performance, a tough loss, and you just want to throw your skates as far away from you as humanly possible, perhaps even break your stick if it'll actually break, and simply forget about it all completely. So, as parents and as dedicated mentors, how do you effectively help a child truly believe in themselves again? And maybe in some specific cases, it really isn't the right path for them, and they should perhaps hang up their skates for good, or maybe not. How do you find that delicate balance? What are your insightful thoughts and valuable suggestions on this complex matter?
I honestly don't know a single professional hockey player who hasn't genuinely wanted to do that at some point in their entire career, not just as a mere...
Did you ever have that kind of strong urge?
No, I didn't actually do that at all.
I can say that, well, this is a sport where, let's put it this way, every game can change your life for the better. You play well on Wednesday, life is great. You play on Friday and don't do as well. Suddenly it's like you're nobody again. So you just have to be able to look at things from the outside. And of course, as you get older, it probably gets easier to do that. You just need to be able to step back and say, okay, maybe it's just a rough patch, maybe a month or so, and you realize, all right, maybe things aren't going your way, but that's normal. It's just a phase you have to get through. There are also times when you play through pain, and you really have to understand that if it's an injury, you need to take care of it and take a break, but then everything will be fine. The main thing is to stay aware that you still have that fire inside you. It's one thing when something is holding you back, but it's another when you just go to practice and it feels like torture. Again, it's all about, as they say, analyzing things in your head. It's a psychological breakdown. You can talk things over, consult with coaches, with family members. It's a really tough and very personal issue. speaking for myself, if I stop getting that rush or enjoyment from training, for a while I just push through because I have to, but then I try to distract myself somehow, and eventually the desire comes back. Basically, I realize that if something isn't going right, most likely I need to adjust something, and not just in training, maybe in life too, because everything is so interconnected. So you really have to analyze a lot and also know how to rest properly, because mental overload during the season is a real thing. So
yeah, what Anton just said is absolutely right. That's probably the most important thing. I just want to add a few more things as well. Hockey is truly such a tough and demanding sport. It's practically several distinct sports rolled into one cohesive athletic endeavor. I mean, you really need absolutely everything. Exceptional coordination, sufficient strength and impressive endurance, superior skating skills, a high game IQ, the innate ability to read the ice, to constantly see the play develop, and to keep your head on a swivel, turning a full 360 degrees. It's a profoundly complex sport. So yes, there are always inevitable ups and downs, periods of struggle and losses. Just like Anton wisely said, one game goes well, another doesn't, and you can easily start doubting yourself. Especially for young, developing kids, it's incredibly important not to scold them harshly for not following the coach's instructions or for playing poorly. They are, after all, still very much learning. Yes, and for example, in Slovakia, Anton will back me up on this, it's good that even the foreign players who come here to play, no matter their age, whether they're 10, 12, 14 or 15, they come here to play. Why do they come to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Europe? The mentality here is a bit different. Back home, if you make a mistake during a game, you get benched and you'll sit there until the coach decides to put you back in. But in Slovakia, you won't get benched for a mistake, because if you're benched, you don't get the chance to fix that mistake. You should have the opportunity to correct it. You need to get back on the ice and make it right. That's why here in Slovakia, they give you a chance to fix your mistake instead of just making you sit on the bench and wear out your pants, you know? That's a big advantage. You have to let the kids see and give them the chance to correct their mistakes, that's all.
But there's another side to it as well. For example, here, if you point out a mistake, let's say with teenagers around 14, 15, 16 years old, you can tell them 5 times, but they might not take your words that seriously. It's like they're a bit distant. They say, yeah, I get it, I made a mistake, but they don't actually fix it. So again, it's really important how you present it. Back home, there were mistakes where after I made one, I'd get scolded, maybe sit out 2 or 3 games, and then I'd never make that mistake again in my life. Here, it's different. If the guy is really thinking, really engaged, he'll pick things up quickly. If you tell him about a mistake in Slovakia, he'll go and fix it. There are some guys who don't take this seriously. So again, it comes back to the fact that a coach is really an individual mentor. He should, so to speak. You can't treat 20 people the same way. You can't explain the same thing to all of them. Each person needs their own approach. So
basically everything that was said is correct. Again, the approach should be mixed. That is, it could be this way or that way, depending on...
I want to point out one thing about Volodya. Let Volodya say it himself. I've known Volodya for 14 or 15 years. And I know that in every game, Volodya always had his tablet back then. He would review every game after it ended. The next day, usually the games were on Saturday, and the older ones played on Sunday. But on Sunday, he always spent time watching all his games, analyzing all his mistakes. He would analyze the game. So, Vova, is that true or not? Can you confirm that, Katistov?
I'm listening to you. It's so interesting. What can I say? First of all, with Juju Anton, from the very beginning, I remember I never wanted to quit. Not once did I feel that way. Maybe there was one time, but that was when it seemed to me that the whole world was against me. But still, there was never really that kind of desire. Well, I guess I always had the desire to prove something to someone. And first and foremost, probably to prove it to myself. That was the main thing. Because there were different moments psychologically, mentally, when, let me put it this way, it's always very easy to play. You feel free and relaxed. When everything is working out for you, when you're on a good streak of successful moments, successful games, and so on and so forth. But it's always mentally very difficult, and that immediately holds you back. Your actions become a bit different right away, especially when you're going through a streak of failures, when things aren't working out, when you want it so badly, and with every game you want it even more, and it just keeps building up. And breaking through that moment can sometimes be very difficult. And then all that builds up inside. You can, especially in psychological terms, lead to a player wanting to quit, losing interest. It's tough in those moments. What always helped me, I think, was to take a step back. And as for games, I agree with Alexander. I still watch every game after it's over. The only thing I probably changed over time is that during games, especially when there's a bad streak, like for example, when things are going well, I try to focus on mistakes and areas to improve. But when there's a streak of failures, on the contrary, you try to focus first on the positive moments. I've discussed these moments as well, for example, with some mental coaches, athletes, and specialists. When something isn't working out for you, it feels like, well, we were probably taught this way since childhood, right? To always dig into ourselves, to constantly look for mistakes within ourselves. Yeah, exactly. You need to find a good moment in the game, something you did well, something that worked for you. Find the positive in your play and use that as a springboard to move forward. And then look at what you could have done better. I think in moments like these, it's really helpful. It's the same for kids, for parents, for example. When parents try to give advice, well, I'll put it this way. I was also advised by some coaches based on my own experience that if you want to help your child or maybe your teammates, for example, on a team, to say something that's not very pleasant, let's be honest, none of us likes to hear it, especially I think, Anton, you can confirm this, when you're in the middle of a game and someone comes up and tells you that you should have done something differently, especially if it's a teammate and not the coach. You already know yourself that you should have done something differently, but hearing it at that moment doesn't help. At best, I'll say something polite in response. I might find 10 ways to accept it, but in that moment, it just doesn't work that way. So it's the same with a child. You want to say something, you're a close person to them, and as for the coach, maybe the child won't snap back at them, right? But with you, it might later turn into a mini conflict or some kind of discussion, let's say. But if you go up to the child and say, today you did this, that, and the other thing, well, you managed to do some things really well, this, and this. But at this moment, it's kind of like a sandwich. First, you say something good, and then comes the bitter part, right? Where you say, but here you could have done better, and here you could have done better too. And really, the child from their own worldview thinks, okay, this part is good, and here I can do better. Yes, I really could have done better here and here. And then at the end, you give a little motivation, or let's say, introduce some innovation. This part, look, you did well here. Now let's work on this part, like a bit of motivation, like, come on. And the child perceives it. Our psyche is built in such a way that we don't take it as if someone came up and told us how bad or terrible we are, pouring all the negative things we did in the game onto us. On the contrary, we perceive it like, wow, cool, I did some things well, and these things not so much. Now we're going to work really hard and productively on them. So you kind of need to approach these issues from a psychological perspective as well. We're saying now that in this way, I wouldn't say you deceive, but you can present information to the child differently. But really, for older kids, think about it. You can present this information to your own brain in the same way, and your brain will respond differently to what happened in the game and the situation. So this is a little, I don't know, you could call it a life hack that at least helps me, and I believe it will help many other kids too.
Vladimir answered my question before I could even fully articulate it, and I was actually about to make a lighthearted joke and inquire about how many times he got benched. Not just the sheer number, but rather the profound psychological aspect of such experiences, which is truly fascinating, because I genuinely wanted to ask, and Anton's insightful answer also touched upon various intricate psychological elements. I was particularly keen to pose the question, how incredibly important is psychology in the demanding world of hockey nowadays? Did you ever have dedicated coaches who were specifically trained as sports psychologists, or was your coach simply a regular traditional coach? And now, as you yourselves are actively acting as mentors and coaches, did any of you undertake formal studies in psychology, perhaps even obtaining a degree or certification? For us, back in our academic days, it was considered a completely separate and distinct discipline, the science of psychology. But honestly, looking back to those earlier times, it wasn't like that at all. It was a profoundly different era and a completely different approach. Now, I listened to you both speak with such remarkable competence and deep understanding, and honestly, even from my own personal experience, I can genuinely say that the capacity for self-analysis and introspection only truly began to develop within me after I turned 40 years old. Did you have any professional psychologists available to you when you were undergoing your rigorous training? Or did you arrive at all this profound understanding on your own through some kind of inner miracle, so to speak, a natural unfolding of wisdom?
Well, I can start, continue, and begin. I don't think it will take too terribly long, but I'll probably say this, and it's an important point. When we were kids, and I think he'll confirm the very same thing, I honestly don't think we had any psychologists, at least not in the youth categories of sports. Probably up until about the age of 14, I never really encountered anything like that at all. At least I certainly wouldn't call any of our coaches in the various sports schools psychologists in the traditional sense. Maybe if you change the ending of the word a little bit, but I think everyone has their own unique experience with this. I sincerely hope that over time the situation is indeed changing. I hope that people are actively learning, developing their skills, going to universities, and perhaps even getting some kind of specialized education to effectively coach young kids. But the very first time I truly faced the significant issue of psychology from the inside, when my own personal knowledge and existing skills simply weren't enough to cope, was during the crucial transition from junior or teenage hockey to the demanding world of adult hockey. No matter how exceptionally good you might have been in your own specific age group, when you play primarily with your peers, you eventually hit a certain point where everyone goes through the exact same thing. You then move up to the more challenging adult hockey, and you absolutely have to break through. You have to maybe change your entire mindset a little bit because you're accustomed to always getting a lot of valuable ice time and so on and so forth. That's precisely when the complex psychological questions truly start to emerge. That's when I really started to look into this important topic much more deeply, to talk to various specialists in this particular field. Again, at university, there's a completely separate subject dedicated to psychology. So you pick up valuable information everywhere you can and then try it out in practical application. But again, I'll repeat and say with absolute and unwavering certainty, you possess certain inherent skills that you have and diligently train. You have your own fundamental base, not merely a base of theoretical knowledge, but a solid base of your actual abilities on the ice with the stick, your skating prowess, and so on. But if you're not genuinely confident in yourself, if you're not mentally and emotionally ready for the game and prepared to show all that you've got, you probably won't be able to show even half of your true potential. So the core issue is really, truly in your head. Maybe for very young kids, real little kids, it's not as critically important, although now I fully realize that it absolutely is. It just wasn't widely practiced or emphasized in our particular time. But there are a lot of talented guys who consistently show excellent results in practice, play really exceptionally well, some of the very best. And even now, when I help coach young kids, they show one impressive thing in practice. But when they go out for an actual game, they just dump the puck. They're not confident at all. Maybe their hands shake a little bit. So it's really a profound mental issue. I think this is a very, very important aspect that truly needs to be worked on, just like any other essential skill.
Well,
I would have chosen coaches from quarantine times who focused more on mental training rather than just technical or physical aspects. But basically, everything still came down to certain situations, like game moments and so on. First of all, at home, it's really important how your parents are, whether they pressure you or if you can discuss things openly at home. I was lucky. My family and relatives were all very understanding, so I was never afraid to talk about anything at home. Again, regarding self-analysis, we used to watch all the games at home, for example, as a family with my dad. I could just sit down with him. It wasn't like I locked myself in my room to watch alone. We always had that kind of support, and it's the same now. I have younger brothers, and we do the same things together. So I can say one thing, don't be afraid to talk to your coaches. That always helped me. I had a couple of coaches like Rina who, you just didn't want to run into him unnecessarily. And that wasn't just in Russia. It was the same in the minors here too. The guys were tough, old school types. But for example, one of them is now my colleague. And I realize now that being afraid of him was just silly, because if you have a problem, say things aren't going your way, or you don't understand what to do, or your hands aren't working, or something hurts, you should just go up and say, Coach, I don't get what's happening. Can you give me some advice? You want to get feedback to know what you need to improve. And I think 90% of coaches would actually be happy about that, because we're all here on the same team, working toward a common goal. Why would a coach need a player who's not ready or can't do something? So I say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to approach and ask questions if something's bothering you. Again, it shouldn't be in a way that feels like you're imposing. It should be calm. If something's really bothering you, go to your mentor, ask, and get advice. From my own coaching perspective, I'm always happy to help guys who come to me for something, because that's way better than them just doing things their own way and doing it wrong. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to come up and ask for advice. That's why we're here as coaches, to help, to learn, and to teach. So I'm telling you, there's really nothing to be afraid of. There's no reason to be scared at all.
Thank you for the wonderful answers. Now let's shift a bit from the psychological side, and as they say in some crime shows, get down to earth. So here's my question. Going back to Gustraku, I wanted to ask, there are so many different types of training there: cardio, general physical preparation, dribbling, and so on. I'm curious, what do you think are the best exercises to do? And in general, how important is it, or is there even such a thing as one being more important than the other? In your opinion, or maybe from your personal experience, are there any particular types of training you think are more important? Or maybe you have your own personal favorite exercises, not the ones you lead, but just in your own life. When you train yourself, do you do the same things?
May I jump in just for a second? No, you mentioned favorite or least favorite workouts. At home, you need to work on the things you don't like, the things that don't come easily, because you'll always do your favorite things on the ice or at work anyway. But the things you don't like, you need to work on your mistakes at home, on your own time. That's all I wanted to say.
No, absolutely not. Certainly not under any circumstances, by no means, definitely not in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know. For me, all my life, it was always a pleasure. Basically, I would go outside and practice with a ball or a puck, whether it was on artificial ice or just on asphalt. And honestly, I got a lot out of it, and I came up with exercises myself. So again, for kids, it's all about play. That's why you need to develop everything. One week you might feel like running, another time you might want to play around with your stick. The main thing is to do something every day, even if it's just a minimum of 15 minutes a day. If you add that up over a week, a month, a year, that's a great amount of time that really pays off.
Yes, it is profoundly important. It is absolutely crucial that they genuinely enjoy the activity and that it serves as a significant source of personal pleasure and fulfillment. This is because, particularly up to a certain developmental age, if the activity does not genuinely bring them a sense of joy, satisfaction, and intrinsic motivation, they will very quickly and inevitably lose all interest in pursuing it further and will ultimately cease engaging in it altogether. It simply will not hold their attention or curiosity, becoming uninteresting and utterly devoid of any real significance or purpose. Consequently, it will truly lack any meaningful impact, neither for their immediate personal development and well-being, nor for their long-term future prospects and potential growth in that particular area. And the same goes for our training sessions. As I see it, there aren't really any workouts that are especially grueling. I mean, there aren't, say, 20 sets of 200 meters or like a 10-kilometer cross-country run and so on. All of the comprehensive training sessions are really only about 15, perhaps 20, or maybe even 30 minutes at the absolute most that we carefully record. So you can easily do them whenever you truly want, basically, and conveniently adjust them as genuinely needed. So yes, maybe you shouldn't overload yourself the night before a game, by doing several cardio or jumping workouts or other more intense things. But still, as Anton already mentioned, even now I go to shooting practice just to work on some things to improve my weak points, and I gladly spend 2 hours there, sometimes more than 2 hours. And it's not because I'm always forcing myself to be there, but maybe I do make myself go at first, but then I really get into it. I end up doing what I enjoy, Then again, there are certain things that, of course, you just have to do. You have to push yourself a little, like working on some aspect of general physical training, for example. But again, you need to try everything. You need to do a bit of everything. And over time, you'll start to understand yourself and your body better, what helps you when, what you should do. And you'll be able to build some kind of schedule or routine for yourself that will best prepare you for each game or competition.
And I also want to add and emphasize that most of the young guys who come here from Russia to play hockey in Europe, especially at a young age, they typically have one significant thing. Well, I don't know, perhaps things have indeed changed somewhat now, but let's just say no one, absolutely everyone who arrives here never truly does a proper, thorough warm-up or a comprehensive cool-down routine. They often don't even genuinely know what a proper warm-up or a beneficial cool-down actually is. But here in Slovakia, I'm quite sure the guys playing here won't let me lie about this. Here, at least from what I've personally observed and seen, the dedicated coaches pay a considerable amount of attention to this crucial aspect. So probably one of the very best and most valuable things that bus hockey consistently gives and provides is exactly this essential series of structured warm-up and cool-down exercises and drills. And Anton made these videos, we filmed them, and Vova made these videos too. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe everything has already changed, maybe the guys have already... Yeah, the first thing is not to relax, then Anton repeated it. I don't know if that's true or not, you can confirm or deny it. For me, warming up and cooling down are the most effective things you need to be able to do 100%.
I just think that in general, a significant number of guys who come to the CS, which is the Commonwealth of Independent States, often don't take the situation or their responsibilities here very seriously at all. This lack of seriousness can be quite problematic, and I believe that overall, experience has taught me not to treat warm-ups and cool-downs as something you just do for the sake of it, like something you do just because you have to. Like I ran a bit, I warmed up, and then I go straight to exercises, I don't know, like heavy squats, or I go straight onto the ice. It just doesn't work that way. I think you should approach warm-ups as something you also need to get good at, you know? So many beneficial exercises, such as comprehensive mobility work, can actually provide you with a significantly better and more fluid range of motion on the ice, or, for example, substantially reduce the overall risk of potential injury, or simply make you feel considerably better and more comfortable. Or to give another instance, a proper and thorough cool-down routine performed diligently after an intense training session can effectively reduce muscle soreness and discomfort experienced the very next day. So you truly need to treat these important things as an integral part of your comprehensive training, not just as some minor unnecessary appendix, something you might do if you genuinely have the time, and readily skip if you absolutely do not. And again, when approaching each workout, you might think, for example, I have a gym session today, I'm going to work on certain specific exercises. So you plan ahead and do the kind of warm-up that will prepare and activate the muscles that will be involved. Of course, it's clear that this won't all come at once. You need to try things out, see what works for you, what gives you more comfort and helps you. But I think that over time, by watching our videos, people will find lots of great exercises that help us. And we really hope that in the future, they'll use them and that these exercises will help them too.
Well, speaking as a dedicated viewer, I must say that when I first started seeing these intensive training sessions, I genuinely asked Alexander, feeling a bit puzzled and quite curious, why do we even truly need all this physical training, really? From my perspective as a viewer, it seemed like a completely unnecessary thing. Hockey is just about hitting the puck using your stick. That's basically all there is to hockey, right? I was thinking like an amateur, and then during our first stream, which was actually with Vladimir, and back then it was more like a radio broadcast, Vladimir explained it to me really well, and I'd really like to hear it again. Maybe Vladimir could repeat his answer, since the recording quality was really poor that time. And I'd also be interested to hear Anton's opinion about physical training, really. I'm not much of an expert either, but is it actually important or not?
Well, I can say that honestly, as long as nothing hurts, nobody really does anything. But as soon as everything starts to hurt, that's when you start wondering why. And then all the physiotherapists and training coaches start to appear. Well, of course, absolutely. Let's put it this way. For the past year and a half, I've been working very seriously with physiotherapists because things started to bother me. These are chronic issues. I won't say exactly what, since we'll be playing against you soon, so... Well, honestly, it's true. When you really realize that it actually hurts and it's tough in the mornings and so on, when you feel discomfort somewhere, you really start working on those things you used to just ignore when you were younger and everything was fine. Again, we could just, go for a run, and I'd say he'd get home faster. Well, no, I always, again, tried... Let's put it this way. He did his job 100%, both before and after, but let's say there weren't many people who could advise on how to do it right. So basically the child too, probably the parents as well. If you're a teenager, you have to figure out for yourself how to do it properly. Accordingly, there's a lot of information available now. So again, I suggest you check out our channel. We provide a huge amount of information there, and that's exactly why we do these streams, to explain the right way to do things to the guys. No, it's a huge amount of work, and everyone should approach it with the right attitude, because it's a very contact-heavy sport, and you have to be prepared. It's not that you have to be huge like some massive person who's just extremely prepared. First and foremost, you need to focus on safety, on avoiding injuries. Not the kind of injuries that happen in some silly situations, but rather, for example, when you do a couple of,
Didn't reach far enough or stretch too much.
You can prevent this with simple, really just ordinary exercises that take 15 minutes in the morning. Again, we used to do a warm-up like that. And the same goes for the cool down. It's not a huge amount of time. No one is saying you need to work for an hour before and an hour after. We're talking about 15 to 20 minutes before and 15 to 20 minutes after. These are the things that will keep you safe. And most importantly, this will actually save you time, nerves, and money in the long run, because again, treating any kind of issue is always unpleasant. So it's better to protect yourself and start thinking about it now. And even more so when you already have problems in the morning. So
when your body is still young and flexible, that's exactly when you need to start stretching and doing all this. And later, when you get stiff, that's a whole different story. As Anton says, that's when the real therapy begins.
I'm getting ready. Seriously, I'm preparing myself. I always work with personal trainers. So when it comes to physical preparation, I mean, like I said, Even when I go on vacation for a month, I still train there. I prepare individually, both here in Slovakia and there. I always do everything related to the gym individually. And even now during the season, even now, for example, before games, I always work with the trainers also individually. So I've always, you could say, been in some kind of group. Yes, a small one in the summer. When it comes to the gym, yes, there are general workouts, but now I focus specifically on an individual approach.
Yes, that's interesting. That's actually a really important answer because,
I want to add two more things. Anton was right. We have all these workouts on Basak. They really do take just 15 to 20 minutes. Warm up and cool down. And in my opinion, each of the coaches demonstrated it in their own way. And the subscribers who are now, I don't know how much it costs to watch now, Alexander. Well, after 47 truly dedicated people, she will undoubtedly watch all of our videos and then meticulously show the children exactly how to do everything correctly and precisely.
There's another question. Many parents are horrified, and I actually understand them because I was once young and foolish myself. My older brother and I played all sorts of games, including football, which is why our windows were always broken. My brother even brought home a hockey stick once, and our father almost kicked us out of the house, but that's a long story. Many parents ask whether it's actually okay for kids to play with a hockey stick at home and how often these exercises can be repeated. I mean, I get it. Of course, you can't replace a proper gym, but most apartments are pretty small, and I wonder how suitable it really is to practice with a stick at home.
Can I answer that? I've been wanting to answer this for a long time. I was actually waiting for this question, and I have something to say. And Vovka is going to laugh now too. We have a mutual acquaintance, but actually everyone knows him because he's a well-known person in hockey, Danila Cheka, born in 2002. He currently plays for Zavumsky Omtogar, and before that he played for the farm team of the Golden Knights. He spent a big, well, not the biggest, but probably half of his hockey career. I think he left at 14 to play in the Greater Toronto Hockey League, then moved to the CHL, played in the OHL, and after not making it to the main NHL team, he signed with Omtogar. So I'm going to tell you some stories about his training at the Dasha. They had, or maybe they still have, a big wardrobe, an old-fashioned one. And when Danilka was little, about 10 or 12 years old, he would come to the Dacha, turn this wardrobe around, open the doors like this. The wardrobe doors would serve as goals. He would hang his dad's old jackets and all sorts of things there so that they would act as, they served as a kind of buffer. And with an ordinary tennis ball, he would shoot from a distance of 2 or 3 meters right at these goals. I know he would do 300 or 400 shots like this every day. So it was absolutely harmless for the house and everything else. And by the way, Anton did a review on our channel about which balls are safe to use at home. For example, there's a floor ball, an orange ball that's quite light, and a tennis ball. He used to throw with those as well. And now, please, he's signed to play in the hangar where he plays. Yes. I think I answered.
Well, the path...
Guys, maybe someone else has a different experience. Maybe someone broke some walls. I knocked out all my eyes on him. I broke everything just like that.
My brother and I did the same thing. In fact, Anton tore off my mustache. I wish I had known about this as a kid. Because my brother and I with a puck, I remember with our grandmother in my plaza, we broke it. I remember after the second hit, there was just everything. They even wanted to kick us out of the house.
It was only when my brother got older that we actually started playing, you know, let's say when we were about 10 years old. He just turned 11 now, so we started, let's say, playing for real. He started taking it seriously and so on, so his room basically became a playroom and we had to renovate it. So, you know, a proper, like, it's cool, it's fun. But as I said, the most important thing is that the kids actually do something at home. Well, I mean, it's not like with a ball you won't, you know, cause some incredible damage at home, I think. So, like, the downside is, well, you might knock over a glass, yes, or you need to hide things. Let's put it that way.
Well, listen, even Vovka here can confirm. I think it was at some event where we grabbed a bunch of rubber pucks, if you remember, and we had these rubber lightweight pucks, and you can use those too. They're really, really light. I don't know, it's some kind of soft rubber. Yeah, you can throw those as well. It's a full-fledged puck. It's just not heavy.
Man, it's it's its own kind of thrill. It's like, I'm telling you, it's, well, a memory for a lifetime when you're just at home, really turning over chairs. I used to turn over chairs, and my grandpa and I would play. And by the way, we used a tennis ball, actually a ping pong ball, the little white one, just because it was light. And usually those were rare chairs. We'd flip them over and those would be our goals, and our boards were the wardrobes. So I'm saying those are the most awesome, genuine childhood memories.
Yeah, because I can really relate to that. It's true. Anton noticed it too. Of course, I wouldn't recommend it, especially if there are parents around right now. Maybe don't let them hear this. But when we were little, yeah, we played hockey everywhere. I remember at school we played hockey with bottle caps and rulers, and at home we played with makeshift rackets and little balls of any size and with whatever we had on hand. I remember when I was little, I knocked over the TV, and actually hockey was on at the time. And you know, on one side of the screen where the TV was broken, the hockey game was still showing the whole broadcast, while the rest of the TV was just static, but there was still hockey. So basically for about 6 months, I think I didn't touch any electronics at all. I focused on developing my skills and my stick handling, let's say. And then when we moved to Slovakia, hopefully the people who lived with us won't watch this video, but yeah, Sasha can confirm. We used to go down to the basement all the time to practice shooting. We came up with all sorts of ways to play. Just recently with another coach, Yaroslav, we were reminiscing. He said, well, we seem like reasonable people, but just imagine if your car was parked there and we were practicing shots all around it. Back then, we didn't think about it, but what would you think now? I said, now I probably wouldn't think anything good about those people, but honestly, yeah, you shouldn't judge. If Yaroslav had been here, he said, now back then I practiced and developed the best shot of my life. And that's really how it was.
But
without any gear, he would stand in front of the goal and I would do the same, but probably no more than 20 meters away. So the distance wasn't that big. No, he wouldn't let me get closer. I would take slap shots and he would really stand there without any gear, nothing at all. Honestly, I'm still surprised that both of us are alive, but we are, yeah. So those are the kinds of memories I have, but the training sessions we offer on our website, on YouTube, everywhere, they are absolutely safe, and I don't think parents have anything to worry about. Many of the drills are either with soft balls or focused specifically on handwork. You really only need 2 meters of width, maybe 1.5 meters in height. You can even use a wooden chair and just practice moves around it. It's about throwing something, breaking something. Those are just elements of the game. As for the kids, we give them exercises just for development. And honestly, there's nothing dangerous or anything that could cause serious harm. What we did in our childhood, that's probably not going to happen now. If a child is really bored and has nothing to do, then maybe they'll get into trouble. But if they're practicing stick handling or playing around a wooden chair, that's only going to benefit them. So I think
that in the next stream, parents will probably leave us comments, either words of thanks or maybe some suggestions about what skills are best to develop. Since that was such an interesting question, I have one more, and then I think we'll start wrapping up because we're about to hit an hour on air, which is great for our first group stream. We did a really good job. So my question is about challenges. Back in the day, we used to post challenges on our YouTube channel that all three of our coaches did. Yaroslav, who unfortunately isn't here today, Vladimir, Volkov, and Anton, Piskarev. So here's the question. Are these challenges just a game format, or do they actually help with development, or are they just for fun? Like, try to repeat this. I remember there was a challenge. One of you, I think it was Vladimir, tried to get the puck into a bucket, and Anton was juggling, as always, with his favorite ball and stick. That was interesting too. So is it really a game, a training session in the form of a game, or is it just entertainment?
If you want to see instant results, then basically just do the challenge. Find it and repeat it. By the second day, you'll be able to do it, and you'll realize that you've made progress. Again, I'm saying challenges are designed so that you watch them, get inspired, and then keep doing them regularly. But still, in any case, a quick mini workout, right? But ideally, I'll say it again, you should just watch the entire challenge, truly get into it, and then diligently repeat it. Once you've thoroughly learned it, you should keep practicing consistently and progressively make it much harder. But really, whatever you ultimately do with a stick and a ball or with a puck, it all genuinely helps you improve. But okay, say you come to some challenge, you watch how it's done, right? Again, you try tossing it somewhere awkward but still comfortable. So when you're in a game and suddenly a situation comes up where you have to hit it on the fly, or like I said, catch it somehow. Again, it's all about the stick and the puck. The main thing is that something is happening with your hands and the stick, and everything else that's going on, well, that's already
in a home setting.
That won't happen anymore. Exactly.
That's already good.
There's really nothing much to add here, honestly. You made a very important point. It's enough just to do something with the puck, with the ball, with the stick. And in any case, you'll feel more comfortable with your hands. You'll feel more confident on the ice, and it'll come in handy somewhere. Again, at home, well, I might be exaggerating. You could be sitting on the couch, right, and bouncing the ball. And in any case, you have the stick in your hands, and that skill stays with you, yes. So really, there's not much more to add here. That's just how it is.
I just want to add one very important thing. If our valued subscribers have children, or if parents among our dedicated subscribers have kids who actively play hockey, perhaps even competitively, then this is something they should definitely consider. The guys do challenges, as you rightly pointed out, and Vladimir says at the end, try to repeat it. So if kids try to repeat these challenges, it would be great if parents, regardless of whether the challenge was successful or not, whether the child managed to do it or not, would send us their videos. We would also post these challenges from other kids in the same format that our coaches use on our YouTube channel. And this would help popularize not only us, but also the child themselves, who in 5 or 10 years could look back and see what they were doing at age 5 and how they did that challenge. That's a great story as well.
There's also this amazing TikTok, and just recently a boy from America, about 10 years old, who's really a master of these challenges. I don't know if he repeated our challenge or not, but I thought it was a Stoneson, but actually, no, it's a guy from some club in America. I don't remember which city, and I reposted him on the channel. He promised to repost us too. The challenge is there as well. So again, if you want to be featured in our feed, not just on YouTube, but also on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, then just send us your info. Also, I kind of neglected my duties today. I forgot to say subscribe, like, and leave your questions, because that's important too. Why? Because if someone likes the video, then immediately about 10 to 20 more people see it. In general, I'd like to say that, honestly, I personally relaxed with you all today. I'll be honest, it was a really tough day for me psychologically, but now I just feel like I've truly rested my soul seeing people who are genuinely passionate and loving. Honestly, I had a really great time from the bottom of my heart. I hope this won't be the last time we have such an experience, because we really answered a lot of questions and satisfied the curiosity of many viewers. I think this will be very useful, and you yourselves, I believe, also had some fun and spent a good time. So everything was wonderful. I think we'll slowly start wrapping things up and maybe say something at the end. Well, at the end of this stream, let's put it that way. Then we can make arrangements, and if we get some good feedback, I think we'll continue this great topic in this format. Especially now that we've finally found a platform where we can record properly, because today at the beginning the viewers saw us all laughing since we spent about 10 minutes testing things out, one messenger, then another, then a third, and everywhere either you could hear but not see, or see but not hear, and so on. Well then,
Yeah, I just really want to sincerely thank each and every one of you. It was truly a great experience. And I also had a tremendous amount of fun and laughed quite a bit. And we thoroughly discussed some truly interesting and engaging topics. I'll be glad if Alexander organizes similar streams again. I'm totally in, both hands up. Thanks to everyone for participating. Goodbye, everyone. Keep up the good work. Subscribe to Bus Hockey. Subscribe to Bus Hockey. Check out our training sessions and follow the kids' progress.
Let me also suggest something very important to Kriken regarding the upcoming challenges. I've personally had some truly interesting and memorable moments while filming them. So there's this fantastic app. Please send us your creative challenges, or even better, come up with your very own unique ones. Next Friday, if I'm not mistaken at all, our dedicated team will play a competitive match against Anton's formidable team, and the losing side will absolutely have to do the most creative and entertaining challenge that we carefully pick. So if you genuinely want to make this whole experience incredibly interesting and exciting, please go ahead and send them in right away.
I'll answer on Friday. No, I truly want there to be more thoughtful questions for the upcoming next stream, so that the guys can really come up with some good questions, because after all, we are doing all these important things for the benefit of kids and parents. That is why I want to make absolutely sure we are answering the questions that will actually be genuinely interesting for kids and parents to hear. We had some great questions, but like I said, we're still waiting for more people. Otherwise, we'll just faint from boredom. If you were
to join in, because we really need to get everyone hyped up, get the whole audience going. But I think that, and
it's a great format. We definitely need to keep doing this like these.
Manikad's the company.
Manikad's what percentage?
Thank you all very much for your time. I personally really enjoyed talking with you. I hope you did too, even though I can see you're both tired. Have a great game.
Good games to you tomorrow, yes. Oh, and I just remembered another challenge that happened during the pandemic. Volodya took part in it, Anton. I'm not sure if he did or not, but Yaroslav definitely did it with Volodya. It was juggling with a roll of toilet paper. That was the coolest challenge ever. By the way, we should definitely do it again.
I'll say that I'll be rooting for someone. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for myself, and I hope it will be a good, friendly draw. Of course, it will be in the format of a game, because I know that right now in many clubs, I think
that we're not playing during the pandemic, right? There won't be a draw.
Got it. All right. Thank you all, guys. All the best. Goodbye and good luck.
Goodbye, everyone. See ya.